Good morning, everybody. Hey, today we're going to be going over creating your business entity. As a real estate agent, you've gone through your education, finished all your hours, you went through the state and got licensed, and you affiliated with a brokerage so that way you can manage your transactions. However, there are different methods and styles to running your business, and so we are talking about the different types of entities that you can run your business through. So as you can see here, here's some basic common types. Sole proprietorship, that is going to be you are just running your deals, they come into your personal account, and then you pay your personal taxes. Very easy, smooth going. The only thing with this is that you don't have liability protections, meaning if you were to get sued, your assets and your personal liabilities are available for them to sue. For taxes, it's just a pass-through, so it's easier to do. Just one set of filing rather than having to have multiple filings for different entities. Now there's partnership. That's when you have two people. Again, you don't have the protections, and it passes through to each of your own individual accounts. C corporation will not be very common, but you'll see S corporation and limited liability companies, or LLCs, are probably something you've seen around a lot of entities before. So the difference between S corporation is that there's no personal liability. With limited liability company, you're shielded from personal liability. Under some circumstances that you follow, then you are shielded. Now, there's something called piercing the veil, meaning if you don't function and act like a limited liability company, then they can pierce that veil and actually come after you personally. So the benefits of this, there are some extra tax benefits from an S Corp and LLC. And so it's advised that you talk to a professional, a CPA or tax attorney, to figure out what is the best option for you and what you want. There are some agents who have multiple companies, different LLCs. Some people are just an individual agent and only do a couple deals here and there. So they will be able to guide you and tell you which direction is best. And so if you're only doing a few deals, you may not want to look at doing an LLC, or maybe you still want those protections and you're willing to go through the extra hoops. But those are the basic breakdowns here. As for an LLC, you'd have an operating agreement, meaning all the owners on there would agree to the operating instructions, meaning if they change rules or add people to it, they all have to abide by the operating agreement. And that's going to be very important, as you will need that to actually create the LLC. And when you register your LLC with the state, you have to have that operating agreement. And then the state will actually ask for your EIN number, meaning through the IRS, and we'll go into a little more details here shortly. The IRS will give you an EIN number, which is a tax number for your entity that determines who's paying those taxes and how they can keep track of that. So anyways, that's a basic breakdown there. We're going to go into a little bit more, another visual to help you guys out here. You have a sole proprietorship and an S Corp or LLC. So basically, sole proprietorship, you don't have to really do anything. You just function your normal business. As an LLC, you have more paperwork to file to get set up, and also on an annual basis. For maintenance, there's not a whole lot you need to do here. You have more documentation and requirements for keeping track of items. No payroll taxes. For an LLC, you do have payroll taxes. For employment taxes, you are full self-employment. Here, you're partial self-employment. No legal protection, limited liability protection. This is probably one of the bigger items that you need to pay attention to and figure out if it's worthwhile for you. You're not going to have much IRS interaction here, but with an LLC, you will. They are wanting to see the documentation, like I talked about, having an EIN number and filing with them on how you want to be taxed, whether as an S corporation or a partnership or anything like that. And then here you have who can be a part of a sole proprietorship. Anybody can. On an LLC, you have to be a U.S. citizen and resident. So that should give you a basic breakdown. So now, I get this question quite often is, do I have to get licensed as a business through the state as well? As a real estate agent, a sole proprietor, you don't have to get a business license through the state because you are licensed as a real estate agent, so you can do those services. However, some people, if you do want to get an LLC, you do need to register your LLC through the state. So that one would be a requirement to do through the state. But if you have any other entities, you can register your business through your municipality and through the state. It is a requirement if you have other entities that are not licensed. So here's a one-pager for corporations.utah.gov. You can find this sheet. This is about the different licensures that are available. But if you click on corporations.utah.gov, that's going to take you here. And you will see there's a lot of different options for types of companies. You can see here's a domestic limited partnership. You have a foreign limited liability limited partnership. Here you have a limited liability partnership, domestic and foreign. And the most common ones you're going to see in real estate are the domestic and professional. And so we'll just go for ease today. We're going to go over domestic. And this is going to take you to this page right here. So the domestic limited liability company, that means you are a LLC in Utah. So if you were someone in Arizona applying, it'd be a foreign, but you're domestic. So first thing, before you can actually register online, you have to build your Utah ID. And they've made some recent changes to this website. So if you've done one before, they've changed it up recently. But once you create a user ID, a Utah ID, then you can go in and register your business LLC here. Also, you can look down here. Here's new registrations. It kind of gives a breakdown. So step 1, create a Utah ID. Okay. Step 2, use your ID to log in. So if I click on here, it's going to take me to my login. I already have mine saved in, so it's going to be automatic. And so here's a basic breakdown of your dashboard. So as you come in here and I want to create an LLC, I'm going to formations and registrations. And then from here, you are going to decide the type of entity. We're going to put domestic formations. And here's your drop-down menu. So here you come down to domestic limited liability company. Click next. You would say that is the appropriate thing. Here's your fee. It's $59. And here's the basic information of this. So then you go ahead and you type in your LLC. If you have a team name, maybe it's Team Elite or something, then this would be your LLC that you're paying into. I can verify name, and then here's how it's going to be shown. Now, how it's shown here is how you need to show it on all your documents, on your logos, anything like that. You do need to show that here. So if you, most common, you're going to see the LLC or LLC. So then you go back in here and type LLC and verify name. And it said Team Elite. So if that's one you want, there it is. It's ready to go. Then you can click on next. So you can put selling residential real estate to give the explanation. Effective date, this is when the team or the entity is being created. So we'll just say it's today's date. And here you put in the time frame. It's actually asking for Eastern time, which is interesting. So we'll just say it's 2/28, and a duration type. You can set up a limitation on how long you want this running, but we'll put in perpetual motion here. Here it's going to ask for the principal and then mailing addresses. So the principal is the main person's address. Then the mailing address is, there's another location that you want to send that to. Correspondence, email address entry, who is going to receive that. I'm not going to continue through this whole process because it's going to actually select one for me. But in the registered agents, it's going to go over who is a party to this LLC. Is it just you? Do you have 4 partners? And then it's going to ask for the operating agreement that will dictate what the percentages are and what are the rules for voting and all those items. Now, it will give you a basic template that you can use to submit to the state. So it's not too overwhelming. And then you need to give supporting documentation with other provisions, and you can provide that detail there, and then you just sign, review, and it's done. So it's pretty quickly. Turnaround is very, very fast here to get this one done. Now, you can hire companies to do this. I've seen people charge anywhere from $150 to $1,000. You can do it yourself, but you can also hire a firm, but sometimes they take longer or there's questions. But if you get somebody usually who's local, they can do it faster. Again, your fee's very minimal, and this will help give you protections. So if you are going to look into these options, I would suggest talking to a CPA, and some of them may already have options to service and help you set up an LLC. So, but you would do that through this process here. So, okay, now we talked about how to set that up. You also would be filing with the IRS. And so here is your form 8832, and this goes over your entity formation. And again, if you're working with a CPA or a firm, they would probably throw in this in part of their setup fee. And so, but you just come in here, you type in your entity's name, your EIN number, your street address, all those details, and then you're just going through and explaining what type of company, explanation of a domestic, eligibility entity. As you're getting into these legal documents, I really suggest that you get guidance from a professional in the area so you're not feeling overwhelmed. I've done it myself, and even though I felt like I had some basic knowledge on this, I can see how very quickly it can get confusing, and you don't want to mess around with an IRS and setting up an entity incorrectly, and then if it doesn't give you the appropriate protections, so you might as well spend a few $100s to have it set up properly from the get-go. All right, so once you get through that process of setting up your entity, if you do elect to do an LLC, then you want to set up a bank account. So when you set up a bank account, you need to make sure you're setting up a business account. And when you set up the business account, they are going to need your operating agreement and your EIN number. So that way, and the people who are part of that company need to show up and actually show their ID to set up that account. So this is important part too. Again, talk to a CPA or an attorney on the setting up of your accounts. But with a bank account, if you are using a personal account and you have an LLC, you are acting as a sole proprietorship, which means if someone sues you, they are going to treat you as how your business is acting. This is why you do need to have a separate bank account if you are going to run as an LLC. If you act like an LLC, you'll be treated like an LLC. If you act like a sole proprietorship, you'll be treated as one. So keep that in mind. That's a crucial point. So when here again, you have the personal, and then you have different business accounts, and it talks about the different changes. You probably want to look into the fee structures are different. Some banks will charge more for the business accounts. You may not get points, or you may have less points. So you want to look at some of those different items that are available in that entity. So now let's say you've gotten your LLC set up, you have your EIN, and you've filed through the IRS, and you got your bank accounts set up and running. Okay, great. So now how do I go and start using my items and properly displaying my team. Maybe you have a logo that's trademarked, and we won't go over too much of the trademarking today, but let's say you have the Elite Team logo, and you in that it's you have the Elite Team LLC, and maybe it has like a little house symbol over, like a roof symbol over the Elite Team or something. And so now you have a trailer. Maybe you have a team trailer and you're getting it wrapped. When you put your logo on there, you need to make sure you have LLC on there to get the appropriate protections for that. Additionally, when you are working with an LLC, it is very helpful to keep track of your purchases and your mileage. As an agent, you can have deductions for mileage, for your showings and everything. So when you look at that, I'm going to pull up an example. QuickBooks is one of the many options you have to track mileage. And if you are trying to, I've heard pros and cons, whether if you want to do your taxes through Intuit, TurboTax is their child company. And then it is affiliated with QuickBooks. Now, a lot of people don't like that. They'd rather have a person, and that's perfectly fine. But regardless, QuickBooks can keep good track of your spending, your receipts, and you itemizing what those are. Is this a marketing expense? Is this a vehicle expense, or is this mileage? So you can keep track of those things really well. So rather than writing down your mileage and keeping track of it, I use the QuickBooks option, and my app tracks my miles every time I drive, and I can say, oh, that's a personal or that's a business commute. So then I can itemize what I'm getting deductions for, and it makes it a lot easier and faster. And then I can also pull reports from QuickBooks. So let's just say if I'm trying to, maybe you're trying to purchase an investment property, and they want to see, your profits and loss, or your P&L. You can already pull that down because it'll be tracking in all of your commissions coming in, your expenses going out, and it will show them you're a viable company making money. So then they're going to be more willing to lend to you. So these are some important things to keep in mind. Why it is helpful to have a separate business account. It shows validity, professionalism, and you get those extra protections. But with those extra protections, you do have to keep track of what you're doing. So it does create more work, but as an agent, you should be, ready to really grow your company, and you're going to do that through having these systems in place. That way you can manage them later on. So keeping organized is super important. So, $1,750 a month, and then you're going to get more than that in deductions from your mileage. So now you're keeping track. You have all those entities put in place. You'll need to work with RealtyPath to make sure, if you've started off with a personal account and you transitioned to an LLC, you need to change your account through RealtyPath on how you get paid. So you're going to do that by going to realtypathlibrary.com. You'll come into the home page. So this is your landing page. You will click on Documents here, or Document Library. And then you're going to put in here is to, actually, let's go ahead and, under the administrative documents, you can go into accounting forms. And here you have a direct deposit authorization. So you just download this one. And then this is just saying, is it a checking or savings? You give the information, give that to RealtyPath. And then the accounting will then move forward to sending you new commissions to this account. Now, you have to keep in mind, every time you change an account, there are some protections put in place from banks to make sure that this is a not a fraudulent charge, and so there are delays in you getting that commission. Sometimes it's not very long, maybe a day. Sometimes it might be a few days, depending on the institution that you're changing to, because they have some protocols to help prevent potential fraud coming into place. So you make sure you know that this form is the correct form, and you send that to accounting@realtypath.com. And be prepared for a delay when you change your bank account for commissions. The first time, whenever you do a deposit, it is a little bit longer. After that, they know, hey, this is legitimate. It wasn't flagged as fraud. No one complained. So now they push it through a lot faster through the banking system. So, so when you're looking at all these different aspects and entities, it is, again, suggested that you do work with someone to guide you through this, professional. Talk to a CPA. Hey, I want to set this up, and I want to make sure I'm getting the right type of entity, and how does that look like? For instance, I started off as a sole proprietor, and when I came to RealtyPath, that's how they paid me. Then I transitioned that slowly, and I opened up an LLC for a team. And then later on, I realized I was doing a lot more deals, and I was wondering how can I, better utilize my setup. And so I then elected with the IRS to be an S corp. I was still LLC, but taxed as an S corp. And so I was directed as that from my CPA, and we found some extra savings there. So there's a lot of different things there to keep in mind. But yes, you do want to seek professional advice so that way you're doing it correctly. So this is a brief overview of your business entity creation. And so knowing the appropriate entity that will support what you're looking to build is very crucial. Again, the most common ones, as we show here, that you're going to be looking at is an LLC or sole proprietorship. The majority of the agents who do a lot of deals will go in for an LLC. They may elect to be taxed as an S corp, but want to be an LLC. The setup is a little bit more friendly for the agents to utilize. So, and then again, when you get the LLC, it needs to be done through the state. And then for tax reasons, you need to submit the form with the IRS, which is the 8832, the one seen here. And to create your business entity, again, you're going to go to corporations.utah.gov. You can fill in the rest of that information, or you can just go to corporations and then search for the appropriate type. You will create a Utah ID, which you will use for everything from any businesses you create to LLCs to trademarks and anything that would be assistance for you there. So now I'm going to go over to basic overview of trademarks. Now I know that they recently changed this setup, so I'm going to see if they kept it in the same place. Okay. So I am now at the trademark location. So here you can see you can register a trademark or renew a trademark. There's also a trademark search. And so let's see where they changed that to. So we're going to go to register a trademark. Again, I'm going to log in. I'm going to search a trademark here. So we were going to look at Elite Team, or I think I called it Team Elite. So Team Elite. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a search and see if anything populates here. Okay, so far within the state, there's no Team Elite. So Team Elite, I'm going to try this again. I'm going to put active, search, Yep, nothing comes up. So I'm going to go ahead and say create a new mark. Now, as you create the trademark, you need to already be incorporated. So here you're going to say I'm an LLC, give you all my information, title of the mark. You can see the Elite Team logo. So, or Team Elite logo. All right, so here you're going to describe the logo. Again, this is the words Elite or Team Elite. I like to capitalize the second letter of every word too. All right, so the words, wow. There we go. Okay, Team Elite. The words Team Elite with, I think we said we had a roof design, directly above the wording. We'll say the roof color is red, and the wording is black. Okay, so pretty basic. It might be more intricate for you. So the mode or manner in which the mark will be used. So this mark will be used as a real estate team logo for residential services. Okay. So here you just put real estate, and then again you put the dates that you're looking for, and here it's saying what are all the classes of goods you're looking at. So I'm going to look for real estate. Okay, there it is. Very quickly found that. Insurance, real estate classes. Let me uncheck this one. And then here you're going to go into filing serial number. That's your federal filing if you are filing for a trademark federally as well. Okay. So with that, I'm not going to go through this process fully. The next steps are it's going to ask for your articles of incorporation. You upload the logo, you pay the fee. Again, it's a nominal fee. I think it's $59 as well. And then you submit that, and they want to see that the mark is in usage. So show that you have an email signature, or that you've got a sign, a for sale sign that has that mark on it. Anything that shows that you are actively using that in your field that you're covering, and then you'll submit that. Now, a state trademark does not take very long. Usually, I've seen it in anywhere from a few days to a couple weeks. Now, when you do a federal trademark, which you in most cases should not need as an agent, those take sometimes a few years, anywhere from 8 months to a few years, depending on the type of mark and the complexity of it. So, but here it's pretty simple, very inexpensive. This will give you some extra protections in case you get another team from another brokerage that likes the same name and design, and then starts utilizing that and then gets the protections and you don't have it. It would be advisable if you were doing a big scale type marketing piece to then go ahead and protect your trademark. So again, today we've gone over business entity creations. We talked about the different types that are available, how to go through and file for an LLC, how to go ahead and submit for taxation purposes through the IRS, also how to create checking accounts. Then when you do that, how to incorporate easy management systems for keeping track of your purchases and expenses and your income, companies like QuickBook. And then we also reviewed changing the account with RealtyPath for direct deposit. And lastly, the trademark on how to protect your logo if you do create a team or a personalized logo that you do want to have protected. So that is the end of our class today. So thanks so much for joining and tuning in today.